Have you ever felt like your English vocabulary has just completely hit a wall?
Oh, that is such a common feeling.
Right. Like
Yeah.
you're at this point where your grammar is technically perfect, you know. You aren't making those embarrassing mistakes anymore.
Yeah, you can navigate your day perfectly fine.
Exactly. But then when you speak, your sentences still feel just a bit, I don't know, flat. Like they lack that native-like punch or that specific flavor you know you have in your native language.
It's the classic intermediate plateau, and I mean, it is incredibly frustrating for so many learners.
Absolutely.
You know enough to survive, and maybe you even thrive in basic everyday conversations. But the moment you want to, say, debate a complex topic or negotiate a contract,
Or even just tell a really engaging story at a dinner party.
yes, you realize you're missing the high-resolution tools to actually express the nuances of your thoughts. You just feel trapped in this box of simple descriptions.
You feel like you're painting with only primary colors. And, well, that is the exact mission of our deep dive today.
We have some really great material for this one.
We do. We are pulling insights from a fantastic source titled Elevating Fluency: The Power of Advanced Adverbs. And the goal here is to uncover the secret to breaking through to that coveted C1 level of English fluency.
The advanced level.
Right. And the secret weapon, surprisingly enough, is mastering nuanced adverbs.
Which is such a fascinating premise, honestly, because I think most people assume the path to advanced English is just, memorizing a dictionary of obscure nouns.
Or trying to use incredibly complex, convoluted grammatical tenses that even native speakers avoid.
Exactly. But this material argues that the real leap happens when you change how you modify your existing ideas.
Right. It's not about learning a new word for car or house.
No, it's about changing how you describe the action or the reality surrounding that noun.
I was actually thinking about a metaphor for this earlier.
Uh,
So when you rely on basic modifiers, words we use constantly, like very or really or quickly,
Mm.
it's basically like cooking a meal with only salt and pepper.
Right.
It's highly functional. It absolutely gets the job done.
Your food is seasoned and edible.
Yeah. But using advanced adverbs is like suddenly unlocking a full professional spice rack. You're no longer just making the food salty.
Wow, yeah, you are fundamentally changing the entire texture of it.
Exactly. The aroma, the flavor profile of the information you're sharing with your listener.
That is a brilliant way to look at it, because historically, adverbs actually get a pretty bad reputation.
They do, yeah.
If you take a creative writing class, people will often tell you to just cut your adverbs. They think of them as decorative fluff, unnecessary padding for weak verbs.
Right, like you're just dragging out the sentence.
Exactly. But the big picture idea we're unpacking today is that advanced adverbs are incredibly precise, surgical tools. They are not fluff at all.
So what are they doing then?
They're the primary mechanisms we use to inject tone, to signal probability to our listener, and to convey specific, microscopic mannerisms into a sentence. Yeah, they literally elevate your speech from standard intermediate to highly proficient.
Okay, so how exactly do these words change the texture of our speech? I mean, let's play devil's advocate for a second here.
Sure.
Why not just use more descriptive adjectives? If I want to describe a situation, why not just use a better adjective for the situation itself?
Well, adjectives describe the noun itself, but adverbs describe the action, the condition, or even the overarching reality of the entire situation.
Okay, I follow.
And the real game changer here is the concept of sentence adverbs. These are words like oddly or presumably, and they are remarkably efficient because they sit right at the beginning of your thought.
Wait, what do you mean by efficient? How does adding a word make a sentence more efficient?
Think about it this way. A sentence adverb allows you to comment on an entire idea without needing to build a completely separate, clunky grammatical clause.
Oh, I see.
For instance, an intermediate speaker might say, "It was a very strange situation that the house was completely silent despite the party."
Right, which is fine.
It's grammatically fine, yeah. But it is a mouthful. It takes a while to get to the point.
So how do you fix it?
If you use a sentence adverb, you just drop in one word right at the start. Oddly, the house was completely silent despite the large party inside.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you've just saved so many words. And it improves the rhythm of the sentence, too.
Instantly sounds much more native-like. You give the listener the emotional context oddly, before they even hear the rest of the sentence.
That makes your speech incredibly fluid.
It really does. And that actually brings us to the core actionable strategy from our source material. It is called adverb swapping.
Adverb swapping. Okay.
The concept is that you consciously, deliberately replace Simple, everyday modifiers with high-level alternatives. You do this to actively bridge that gap to C1 proficiency.
So you're taking the sentence structure you already know and just swapping out the salt for saffron.
Exactly. Let's look at an example. Let's say I want to tell someone I am really, really sure about something. Instead of saying he was very sure, the swap would be he was categorically certain.
Categorically certain. Ooh, I like that.
Or instead of saying it usually rains, you swap it to it invariably rains.
Right. And notice how the entire feeling of the sentence shifts when you make that swap.
It really does.
I do notice it, but let me push back on this for a second.
Go for it.
If I start walking around my office tomorrow saying things like, I am categorically certain that it invariably rains on Tuesdays. I mean, am I just going to sound like a walking textbook?
That's a fair point.
Does using these bigger words just make you sound pretentious? Or is there a genuine practical difference in meaning here?
This is a crucial distinction, and it's a trap a lot of learners fall into when they first discover a thesaurus, But the goal here is precision, not pretension.
Precision over pretension. Okay.
Think about the phrase very sure. It is incredibly vague. If a colleague asks if the client signed the contract and you say you're very sure, what does that actually mean?
Right. Are you 80% sure? 90%.
Exactly. But if you say you are categorically certain, that means there is absolutely zero room for doubt across all categories. You have literally closed the door on any follow-up questions.
That makes total sense. It's a completely different level of confidence.
And the same goes for usually versus invariably. Usually rains means it happens most of the time. There are exceptions.
Right.
But invariably rains means it happens every single time, without fail, like a law of the universe. So you aren't just using a bigger word to sound smart, you're communicating a much more exact, specific reality to your listener.
Precision over pretension. I love that framing. Well, now that we understand the psychology of why we're swapping these words, let's actually look at the tools themselves.
Yes, let's dive into the glossary.
Our source provided this amazing glossary of advanced adverbs. But instead of just, reading definitions like a dictionary, let's put these to the test in the real world.
Okay, I'm game.
Let's imagine a scenario, say a disastrous corporate merger. We can use these words to navigate all the drama.
Oh, I love it. Let's build a corporate scandal.
Okay, let's start with what I'll call the truth and reality adverbs. We kick off our story with the word we just touched on. Oddly.
Perfect.
So the merger is happening, but oddly, the CEO hasn't been seen in the office for 3 weeks.
Right, so it instantly signals to the listener that a situation is strange or unexpected.
Exactly. And right as the rumor starts swirling, we can introduce paradoxically.
Paradoxically, which implies two opposite facts that seem impossible when put together.
Right. So in our corporate scenario, you might say, paradoxically, the more money the company made, the less secure the employees felt about their jobs.
Yes. By starting your sentence with paradoxically, you're giving the listener a heads up, like, get ready, I'm about to tell you something totally counterintuitive.
It builds suspense. Okay, so the employees are nervous, people are gossiping by the coffee machine. This is where a word like incidentally comes in perfectly.
Well, incidentally is great. It's used to add a side comment that isn't the main subject, but is highly relevant.
So someone might say, we need to finish these quarterly reports. Incidentally, have you heard the news about the new manager?
It is the ultimate polite trapdoor for gossip.
Yes.
It's a really sophisticated way of saying, oh, by the way, without entirely derailing the professional conversation.
Right. But then to everyone's surprise, the new manager steps up and handles the crisis beautifully. You wouldn't just say she did really well.
No, you would say she performed remarkably well.
Remarkably.
It means worthy of attention or strikingly. It carries weight.
Okay, so the crisis is deepening and the CEO finally calls a press conference. This brings us to the heavy hitters of truth and honesty, starting with candidly.
Candidly means speaking in an honest and straightforward way, completely unfiltered without hiding your true feelings.
So the news reports might say the CEO spoke candidly about the company's past mistakes.
Exactly.
See, candidly is the ultimate PR shield. If a politician or a CEO says speaking candidly, people instantly lean in.
Oh, absolutely. They feel like they're getting behind the curtain.
Right. They feel like they are getting the unfiltered truth, even if it's a totally prepared statement. But here's where the power dynamics of language get really fascinating to me.
Let's hear it.
In our corporate drama, let's say they're looking at the actual merger contract. We have 3 adverbs that act like a legal trifecta. explicitly, ambiguously, and implicitly.
Oh, yes. This is where millions of dollars are won or lost based on a single word.
Exactly. So let's start with explicitly. This means in a very clear, highly detailed manner, leaving absolutely zero room for doubt.
Like, the contract explicitly states there will be no severance pay if the merger fails.
Yes. When you use explicitly, the word acts like a weapon. You can point right at the physical paper. It's undeniable.
But then on the exact opposite side, you have ambiguously, which means open to interpretation, vague, or unclear.
Right. So the clauses regarding employee retention were written ambiguously.
If explicitly is a weapon, ambiguously is the trap you fall into. It is the gray area where lawsuits happen.
And sitting right in the middle of those two extremes is implicitly. This is such a powerful concept.
It really is. It means understood without being stated directly.
So in our corporate meeting, the boss doesn't explicitly say you have to work the weekend. But by handing you a massive stack of files at 5 p.m. on a Friday,
The expectation is implicitly understood.
yes, you didn't say the words, I agree, but the situation itself carries the undeniable meaning.
It's fascinating how mastering just those three adverbs, explicitly, ambiguously, implicitly, it completely transforms your ability to navigate a business negotiation.
Or read a room or analyze a legal document.
Right. And in our hypothetical merger, if the lawyers mess any of those up, they might find themselves acting erroneously.
Meaning mistakenly or incorrectly. Like the finance department erroneously transferred the merger funds to a shell account.
And notice the psychology there.
What do you mean?
How much more professional does erroneously transferred sound than the bank accidentally sent our money away?
Oh, completely different tone.
Erroneously removes the messy human emotion and focuses purely on the factual systemic error. It is a word you use when you need to maintain authority while admitting a colossal screw-up.
That is so true. All right, so the money is gone. The merger is a mess. Let's pivot our scenario from truth to time and detail.
Okay.
How do the auditors investigate this mess with C1 precision? This brings us to the precision and frequency adverbs.
Let's look at how the investigation is done, meticulously. This implies extreme, painstaking attention to detail.
So the forensic accountants meticulously reviewed 10 years of tax returns.
Exactly. It's not just careful, it is obsessive exactness.
Because the financial records are intricately structured, meaning detailed, interwoven, and highly complicated, like an intricately woven spiderweb of subplots in shell corporations.
Right, and the auditors find out that the safety protocols and financial regulations were not enforced stringently, meaning strictly and precisely.
So they were lacking.
Right. In fact, the Oversight Committee only looked at the numbers superficially.
Oh, superficially. That means on the surface only, lacking any real depth.
Exactly.
So the board of directors only understood the risks superficially and completely missed the underlying fraud. I feel like superficially is a highly academic, devastating way to tell someone they have absolutely no idea what they're talking about.
It is the polite, professional burn. It attacks their depth of knowledge without using a single insult.
Wow.
And once the board realizes they only understood things superficially, they might try to leave the company discreetly.
Meaning carefully, quietly.
Yeah.
Usually to keep a secret or avoid a massive public scene.
The CFO discreetly resigned late on a Friday night.
Classic. Okay, let's shift to how often things happen. Time and frequency. And this is where I want to bring in that analogy I mentioned earlier.
The weather analogy, let's unpack that.
Yeah. When I was looking at the adverbs sporadically and invariably, it instantly made me think of the weather.
How so?
Well, sporadically means occurring at irregular, unpredictable intervals, like the payments to the shell company happen sporadically. Compare that to invariably, which means always, consistently, without fail. When corporate oversight fails, the stock invariably drops.
Right.
If you apply that to weather, if I tell you it rains sporadically in April, you picture passing clouds, a quick sudden shower, then sunshine, then maybe another shower 2 days later. It's chaotic.
Right, you can't predict it.
But if I tell you it invariably rains at 3 p.m. in the rainforest, you picture a massive storm rolling in like clockwork. You can literally set your watch by it.
That is a fantastic visualization.
Right. By using those specific adverbs, I instantly paint a vivid, moving picture in your mind without needing to add 3 extra sentences describing the clouds or the timetable. The adverb does all the heavy lifting.
That is the mechanical efficiency of C1 vocabulary at work again. You are compressing an entire paragraph of contextual description into a single elegant word.
It's so efficient.
And speaking of predictable behavior, another great frequency word is habitually, done by habit, deeply ingrained.
So in our scandal, the CEO was habitually ignoring compliance warnings.
Exactly. It's not just that he ignored them once. It is a core defining character trait at this point.
Which means there will be consequences, subsequently, meaning afterwards, in a direct chain of events. The fraud was exposed, and the executive team was subsequently indicted. Cause, then subsequent effect.
But maybe the judge isn't ready to throw them in jail just yet. The court might release them tentatively, meaning subject to further confirmation, not fully finalized.
Oh, like they tentatively agreed to a settlement, pending a full review of the stolen assets.
Right. But the damage to the company is already done. The stock doesn't just fall, it falls precipitously.
Meaning steeply, suddenly, and dramatically. Share prices fell precipitously following the news.
It's not a gentle decline, it is jumping off a cliff.
Which brings us perfectly to our final category, the emotional fallout, the intensity and scope adverbs.
Yes, and for anyone listening, this is arguably the most actionable group of words today.
Because this is the area where we all, native speakers included, by the way, over-rely on the basic salt and pepper.
We constantly just default to very, really, or a lot when we want to express intensity.
Exactly. So what are the C1 heavy hitters we should use instead?
Well, let's say this scandal completely destroys the community. Instead of saying the employees were very deeply affected, you use profoundly.
Profoundly.
It means a deep, intense, fundamental effect. The loss of their pensions affected the workers profoundly. It speaks to a change at the absolute core of a person's life.
Okay, let me try one. What if I want to say I am completely or totally happy that the corrupt CEO went to jail? Can I say I am utterly thrilled?
Okay, so this is a really important nuance, and it's a mistake a lot of people make.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you technically could say that, but native speakers rarely use utterly for positive emotions.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, utterly means completely and totally, but it carries a heavy, often negative emotional gravity. It's used for extreme depletion or devastation.
Oh, interesting. So I wouldn't be utterly thrilled.
Right. You are utterly exhausted after a 12-hour interrogation. You are utterly devastated by the bankruptcy. You are utterly confused by the complex tax law.
I see.
That nuance, knowing not just the dictionary definition, but the emotional shadow the word casts, that is the exact difference between a B2 speaker and a C1 speaker.
That makes so much sense. Okay, what if the CEO's in court and he says he didn't do it? He doesn't just say no, he denies it vehemently.
Yes, meaning forceful, passionate, almost aggressive. The suspect vehemently denied any involvement. You don't just speak that word, you practically shout it.
Exactly. Now, what about replacing the phrase a lot? Instead of saying the company lost a lot of money, you use substantially.
Meaning to a significant, measurable degree. The scandal substantially reduced their market value.
Or if you want to replace mainly, use predominantly. The victims of the fraud were predominantly middle-class workers.
On the flip side of that, if you want to say almost not at all, instead of saying I barely slept, you can elevate it to scarcely.
Like, I could scarcely believe my eyes when I saw the final bank statement.
Or virtually, meaning nearly entirely, but stopping just 1 millimeter short of absolute. It is virtually impossible to recover all the stolen funds.
And to wrap up the scope of our corporate disaster, we have words defining who is involved, collectively, meaning as a unified group.
Like, the employees decided to collectively sue the board of directors.
Versus exclusively, meaning only, shutting everyone else out. The golden parachute payouts were designed exclusively for the top 3 executives.
And finally, the most powerful adverb of intent to close our story, deliberately.
Now, that's a good one.
This means on purpose, intentionally, calculated. The prosecution proved that the CEO deliberately hid the financial losses.
Wow.
It assigns absolute motive. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't an oversight. It was a conscious choice.
When you weave them all together like that, going from oddly to explicitly to precipitously to deliberately, you really start to feel how much incredible narrative power is packed into these single words.
They're doing so much heavy lifting.
They really are. So bringing us all back down to earth for you, the listener, who is trying to actually hit that C1 level in your own life, how do we start using these?
Well, our source material leaves us with a very clear, actionable daily method To truly reach the C1 level, you cannot just passively listen to this conversation or memorize a list of definitions.
Right, you have to actually use them.
You need to activate the vocabulary. The challenge is to write a short paragraph every single day using at least 3 of these advanced adverbs.
Just 3 a day.
Just 3. But the overarching rule of the challenge is that you have to completely banish words like very, really, quickly, and a lot from that paragraph.
Oh, that's tough.
Force your brain to search for a more precise, high-resolution alternative. Over time, this conscious swapping habit is what fundamentally rewires your English to sound more authoritative, academic, and professional.
I want to directly remind you, the listener, about why taking the time to do this actually matters. Adopting these words isn't just about passing a C1 proficiency test.
Definitely not.
It isn't just about sounding smart in a meeting to impress your boss. It is about making sure your ideas are communicated exactly as powerfully as you intend them to be.
Precisely.
You have complex, nuanced, highly specific thoughts, and you deserve a vocabulary that can carry the full weight of those thoughts without dropping anything in translation.
You are finally giving your ideas the high-resolution display they deserve, rather than forcing them through a blurry standard definition filter.
Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on as we wrap up today's deep dive. We started today by talking about cooking. We talked about salt, pepper, and massive spice racks.
Right.
But if advanced adverbs allow us to express such exact microscopic degrees of truth, probability, and human emotion, how much does relying on basic functional words like very actually limit the complexity of the thoughts we are even able to formulate in our own heads?
Wow.
Are we limiting what we can share with the world just because we don't have the words to color it in?
That is a deeply fascinating question. Language doesn't just express thought, it shapes it.
It really does. Definitely something to mull over while you write your 3-adverb paragraph today. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into elevating your fluency. We will catch you next time.